The Rolling Stones' 1976 offering, Black and Blue. Misfire or funky classic? Coming up next on Music Meanderings. I'm Mike Lamneck. This is Music Meanderings, and won't you do me a favor and take the time to subscribe to the channel? Also, comment about today's video and make sure that you hit the bell so you're notified of any future videos that we have coming up. Well, Black and Blue is the 13th studio album by the Rolling Stones. It was released on April 23rd, 1976, after they lost their guitarist Mick Taylor, losing what many, myself included, believe to be probably the best lineup of the Rolling Stones. They had a great run going there with Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street, Goat's Head Soup, It's Only Rock and Roll that Mick Taylor performed on. He added a special kind of raw rockin' sound, and Keith Richards has even said in interviews that he thinks that that was really the best that the band had sounded. Black and Blue is a somewhat dark horse, polarizing record for some Stones fans, as they changed their sound up. In fact, as he had done in the past, guitarist Keith Richards, when they needed a second guitarist and were in between guitarists, went ahead and mixed and overdubbed all the guitars on the record. And that's what he was planning on doing on Black and Blue. Then they came up with the idea of using the sessions as a rehearsal. So instead of him playing all the guitar parts, he brought in a lot of different guitarists as they kind of rehearsed to see who would fill that spot for the second guitarist for the Rolling Stones. Well, we know how that ended up, but before we get there, there were other guitarists that were in the running for that position. Wayne Perkins, Harvey Mandel. In fact, other hopefuls for the position included Peter Frampton and even Rory Gallagher and Jeff Beck, although that pair both decided that what they had going on solo wasn't worth giving up to join the Rolling Stones. Well, when it was all said and done, Ronnie Wood was the guy, of course, that was chosen to be the next guitarist in the Rolling Stones from the Faces, and he really fit right in immediately with Keith Richards and that sound. But that being said, Black and Blue has a variety of different guitarists doing parts. In fact, Nicky Hopkins and Billy Preston play some keyboards on most of the album. And the album was the second one to be produced by, yes, the Glimmer Twins, which is the name that Keith Richards and Mick Jagger were going by at the time. Now with the Black and Blue record, the Stones kind of ditched that rootsy rock and roll sound and blended that more with reggae tones and funk music. Only one single from the album really had any significant chart success, but it was a big one, worldwide success for Fool to Cry, the ballad and lead-off single from the album. The album received a few positive reviews at the time of its release, though most reviewers found it forgettable and tended to rank it very low compared to the prior Stones releases. However, more recent reviews have been kinder to the album. In fact, AllMusic and critic Stephen Thomas Erlewine says that the album, being longer on grooves and jams and songs, ended up what's being good about it. The Rolling Stones, to record the album, returned to Munich, Germany in December 1974, where they had recorded their previous album, It's Only Rock and Roll, and they began the recording on the new album at Music Land Studios with Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, as I said, the Glimmer Twins, producing again. And their idea was to have it ready for release in 1975 for their Tour of the Americas. However, that didn't happen because they were auditioning all the new guitarists and trying to make the album happen. So with much more work needed on it, it was decided to delay the album until the following year and release instead the compilation album Made in the Shade. One song from the track would make the tour of the America set list, though, and that was the cover version of an old reggae tune, Eric Donaldson's 1971 song Cherry Oh Baby. That would be played on the tour of the Americas during the 1975 tour. Following the wrap-up of the tour, the Stones went to Montreux, Switzerland in October to do some overdub work, returning to Musicland Studios over there in Munich in December for some final touches. Black and Blue was completed in New York City in February 1976. And that same month, the Stones flew to Sanibel Island Beach to be photographed by a fashion photographer for the album cover art, which I really like. In fact, that's what drew me to the album as a kid, perusing the record stores and the record departments of stores, just seeing that cover. And of course, it was a gatefold album as well, with the new member, Ronnie Wood, being prominently displayed on the back cover. Well, stylistically, Black and Blue embraces some hard rock with Hand of Fate, funk with Crazy Mama, and of course more funk with Hot Stuff, which was a pretty big single for them as well. And then there's Melody, featuring the contributions of Billy Preston, who was one of the people that was considered to be the fifth Beatle as well for his contribution with that band. But on Melody, they actually lift the melody from a song by Billy Preston that was on one of his solo albums. Now, 2 extra tracks were recorded during the sessions for Black and Blue, and they were later released in 1981 on Tattoo You, The Funky Slave, and also Worried About You. Well, released on April 23rd, 1976, Full to Cry, a worldwide top 10 hit as its lead single. Black and Blue did pretty well, reached number 2 in the UK, and spent a total of 4 weeks at number 1 in the United States, going platinum. The album was promoted, however, with a controversial billboard on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. One of those what were they thinking moments. It depicted the model Nita Russell bound by Jagger under the phrase, "I'm black and blue" from the Rolling Stones and I love it. The billboard understandably was removed after protest by Women Against Violence Against Women, although it earned the band some widespread press coverage. 1976 in Black and Blue. Kind of a polarizing dark horse album for the Rolling Stones. Love the inner sleeve as well. Not sure if these are the actual notes. Hopefully they are actual track notes provided by the band. Makes a really cool inner sleeve for the record. What do you think of Black and Blue? Unrecognized classic, or was it a misstep by the band? Well, please comment below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and tune in again for more music meanderings.